What is Saniderm?
I'll be honest, I was terrified. What are they gonna think about some skinny kid with no tattoos trying to teach them a better way to heal their tattoos? I'm doing my deliveries in Walmart bags out of my minivan.
You're like a drug dealer of Saniderm.
Life is a pitch. It's simply that. It is a pitch, and it is fun. Let's make sure that you're being sold what you want and you're selling what you actually want to sell. I really just love selling. It's the easiest thing on the planet if you believe in yourself. Let's buckle up. By the way, my name's JL. This is Sell Anything.
Scott Hughes, he is a serial entrepreneur, really. An incredible salesman, has an incredible story, and we just want to hear it all. So yeah, tell us everything.
I love telling the story. I think it's a fascinating story. It was a lot of fun getting to where I'm at today.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about what is Saniderm. So nobody knows what Saniderm is probably unless they're in the tattoo world. And if they're in the tattoo world, they don't not know what Saniderm is.
That's probably true. So Saniderm is a company I started about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And the whole project started, I'll just give you the story a little bit. So I was working as a claims adjuster.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Not a glorious job. And I just didn't love it. Being a employee working for an insurance company was not for me.
Right.
So, started reading a lot, books on business, on, setting up corporations and whatnot. And the book that hit me the hardest was, Think and Grow Rich.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah. So if you know, one of the chapters in that book is about the mastermind. And so I thought, you know what? I need some business ideas. I need to get around people that have business ideas. And so I love this. Yeah. So I invited some of my coworkers there at the insurance company and some friends from high school and said, hey guys, let's get together just once a week. Mm-hmm. And our assignment is to bring one business idea every week.
Okay. A little think tank.
Yeah, a little think tank.
Okay.
Didn't know what would come of it, but we did that for a few weeks and we had some good ideas.
Yeah.
A lot of them were actually around the insurance business.
Because that's what you're familiar with.
That's what we were doing.
Right.
But then one of the ideas that got brought up was one of the guys in the group got a tattoo.
Okay.
Right. And it was wrapped in saran wrap and masking tape.
Okay.
Which I see that and I'm like, that doesn't look very sanitary.
Or comfy.
Or professional. Like that's not cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so looked into a little bit and discovered bandages that were being used in hospitals,
mm-hmm.
In burn units to treat abrasions, burns,
mm-hmm.
incisions or whatever.
Okay.
And thought, that's a cool bandage. Well, I wonder if we could use that on a tattoo.
I like it.
Okay.
I like it.
So looked into it a little bit, found out that the company that made those bandages was 3M. I know a lot of people are familiar with 3M.
Post-it notes.
They invented Post-it notes, but they sell everything. They got Post-it notes, computer equipment, hospital equipment. It's at least a Fortune 100 company, huge company.
Okay.
Right. And so they had invented these bandages back in the 80s. So reached out to 3M to see if I could become a distributor for their bandages. And it's like if I could sell them into the tattoo industry.
Okay.
And they were like, yeah, that's a great idea. Here's the pricing. And I was like, oh, shoot.
Expensive?
It was very expensive.
Okay.
They were used to selling to hospitals.
Mark it up, baby.
Right. They were marketing it up a ton and they weren't going to give me a great discount. And so I saw that and I was like, oh, shoot, maybe this idea is not going to work. Because there's no way a tattoo artist is going to pay the same price that a hospital is paying for this bandage, especially when the tattoo artists are used to buying saran wrap,
right?
Which you can buy, I don't know, it's what, 200 yards for like $5, $3? I don't know what it is, but it's ridiculously cheap.
Yeah.
Right. And they were selling these bandages for $100 for 8 yards.
That's a big difference.
So it's a huge difference.
Right.
So I thought about giving up, but then I looked into it a little bit more and realized patents are only good for 20 years.
Okay. Go on.
And this was 2009.
Okay.
And 3M had invented these bandages in the early 80s.
Okay. Okay.
So you see where I'm going here?
I see it. I like it. Keep going.
So I got all the technical specifications from these bandages, and sent them to polyurethane manufacturers in China and said, can you make this? And they said, absolutely. Here's our pricing. And I was blown away.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, the idea became a possibility.
I like it.
The pricing made sense. So next step was to test if it was something that could be sold.
Okay.
Right. And in this time period, I had just attended an entrepreneur training. It was called Junto. I don't know if you've heard of it. It was something that was put on by Greg Warnock, who is one of the founders of Mercado Partners.
Okay.
Venture firm. They're this venture firm behind Stance and Skull Candy and Swig, a bunch of companies.
Okay.
Right. But Greg Warnock was putting on this training, which he just did as a service to the community.
And to get the entrepreneurs that had the next idea he could invest in.
Yeah. So he did invest in some companies, but it turned out he made it into an entrepreneur apprentice style competition.
Okay.
Which was actually a lot of fun. One of the things that I learned in that was a lot of people make the mistake when they're starting a business that they design a product, then they build it, and then they sell it.
They sell it first.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
But what he says, no, sell first, then design. And
sell
build.
anything, baby. Sell anything. Okay.
So taking that wisdom, that knowledge that I got from that training, I thought, okay, I'm going to see if I can sell this first.
Okay.
So first thing I did, I didn't build a website, didn't design any packaging, didn't design a logo, didn't do anything. I just had this manufacturer in China send me some rolls. Yeah. Totally blank, no boxes. Yeah. Whatsoever.
Smart. Okay.
Right. Because I was working for an insurance company, didn't have a ton of money.
Right.
I didn't have any investments.
Right.
I didn't go out and raise money.
Right.
So I
bootstraps.
Yeah, total bootstrap. Okay. Got a few hundred of these rolls. Okay. Of these bandages. Walked into a tattoo shop with the rolls literally in a Walmart bag.
So let me just make sure I'm understanding. You have them in a Walmart bag and you're just going in off the street, door to door, business to business. I like this.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I just needed to see if it would work. Okay. Right. And I'll be honest, I was terrified. Okay. Right. I mean, I had done the door knocking. I had done the sales, the door-to-door pest control, that stuff, in college, like a lot of us do. Yeah. And so I knew how to do it. Yeah. But I had never been in a tattoo shop before. Okay.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. So.
Well, and you still don't have any tattoos.
I never got a tattoo, which is part of the funny thing in the story. So anyway, I walk into a tattoo shop, scared to death. What are they going to think about some skinny kid with no tattoos trying to tell them a better way to heal their tattoos? Okay. Okay.
I'm following. I like it.
So scared to death, did it anyway. And I was blown away, having never been in the tattoo industry up to that point. I'd always kind of been a little scared of the tattoo industry. A lot of people, there's these
bikers have them.
There's connotations around the tattoo industry, especially what you learn. Maybe even it's emphasized more here in Utah where we're at. Yeah. But anyway, went in, and the tattoo artists, they're just some of the coolest, best people ever. Yeah. Right.
They're super creative, super nice.
Super creative, super nice, super non-judgmental. Just a fantastic place to be.
That makes a ton of sense because they're like, we'll put on whatever you want on your body. We don't care.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
It was just a great experience to start going door to door, dropping off these bandages.
And it was all here in Utah first.
Yeah. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't spend any money to do anything anywhere else. At the time, I'm trying to remember, there were, I want to say 60 or maybe 80 tattoo shops in the Salt Lake area. Okay. So I made my own list, just Googled it, copied down all the addresses.
Just hustling.
Yeah.
Okay.
and started going to these tattoo shops. And I didn't, walk in and say, here, buy this roll.
Right.
I walked in and said, here's this product. I'll let you have this if you promise to try it out.
Yeah.
And I'll come back in a week and see what you thought.
Okay.
Okay.
I love it, man.
So that's
you
what
just gave it away for free.
Yeah. So that's what I did.
Okay.
And the rolls were 8 yards. I didn't give him an entire roll. I gave him several pieces to try out, and made sure to get that commitment. Like, if I leave this, you will try it, right? And got that commitment from them.
Yeah.
And then the next week, made the rounds again.
Did quite a few of them actually try it, use it?
Yes, they did actually.
Okay, cool.
A lot of them did. Some of them didn't.
Yeah.
A lot of them were hesitant. They wanted to use it on themselves first before they'd put it on any of their clients.
Yeah, makes sense.
So they wanted to test it out, be their own guinea pig.
Yeah.
A lot of them didn't want to just use it on random clients. They wanted to use it on, like I said, themselves or a friend.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Which was good.
Yeah.
But the ones that did try it out, when I came back, they were super, super excited.
Cool.
Right. They were very pleased with how it worked.
That's cool.
And I started making sales.
I like it.
Just going door to door. And I was doing it, after 5 p.m. because I was working my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Doing it on Saturdays because tattoo shops are obviously open on Saturdays and Sundays.
Right.
So I was going in, doing these deliveries now.
Yeah.
And it started working, and some of these tattoo shops started making bigger and bigger orders.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
It was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And so once I got to that point, I realized, okay, I've got something here.
Yeah.
This could possibly work. All the spreadsheets that I had made and all my enthusiasm, like, this can actually happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
dude, it is actually a really cool moment when you're like, wait a minute, what I thought was going to happen is in the spreadsheet is actually happening. This is awesome.
Yeah. It was very exciting. So now I had, visited all the tattoo shops in Utah or the Salt Lake area.
Now, did we have a brand in boxes by now?
Not yet.
Okay.
So I was serving the Salt Lake County area only.
Okay.
At the time.
Mm-hmm.
But once I kind of had that foothold and had validated the idea, then I'm like, okay, now I'm going to get a website, design boxes, get a logo, all that stuff.
Okay. Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I did it as cheaply as I could. I used, Fiverr and 99 Designs to get my boxes and my logo designed.
Just being resourceful, like a champion. All right.
And I actually didn't have a name for the company even nailed down yet.
Okay. You're like, it's sticky stuff. You just put it on as a Band-Aid.
The name I had actually been using was Tat Wrap.
Not bad.
Which sounds like a really cool name, right?
Yeah. Not bad.
It's descriptive.
Yeah.
It's easy to say, easy to remember, flows off the tongue really well.
Yeah.
And I owned tatwrap.com.
All of the parts are there.
All the parts are there. And I had put an order in to buy Saniderm.com.
Okay.
But somebody else actually owned it.
Okay.
And it was in the process with domains. If you don't renew it, it goes like 60 days after the time it expires and the person has to renew it.
Yeah.
It was in that 60-day period.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't even available yet.
I like it.
So,
okay.
Anyways, one of the smart things I did, and I would suggest to anybody when doing sales or starting a company, is get your market research done, right?
Yeah.
So here I was thinking that Tat Wrap was a killer name. And I talked to my buddies in my mastermind, like, yeah, that's a killer name.
Yeah. I thought it was cool.
Yeah. So then called 20 tattoo shops, just random, off of Google around the country.
Yeah. And
said, hey, if you were to buy a product, which name would you prefer? Which name would you be more drawn to? Tat Wrap or Saniderm?
I think I know what Saniderm means because I think you told me a few years ago, but for the audience, because it's like more medical driven. What is the actual Saniderm mean?
Saniderm, sanitary, clean, right? Derm, skin. Right. Okay. Dermis, skin.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So, and I spent a ton of time, going through, like, I made my spreadsheet with all the Latin, French, like sanitary, clean, skin, and all the languages and putting them all together. And Saniderm was the one that I liked the best. I said, the domain wasn't available,
Right.
but it was
Coming out.
hopefully going to be available. Hopefully the person who owned it didn't renew it.
Right.
But anyway, I called these tattoo shops, and of the 20 people that I called, 19 said they liked Saniderm.
I think the people have spoken.
The people spoke and told me that I was dumb, right?
Yeah. They're like, hey, man.
And it taught me the lesson.
You don't have a tattoo. You don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And all the people I was talking to
Yeah.
didn't have tattoos.
Right.
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 And apparently I learned in that process that tat is often considered a derogatory term. Like,
really?
it's not a tat, it's a tattoo. It's a piece of art, and so.
Gotcha. I could see that. So it's almost offensive.
So
what
almost,
you thought was such a cool
it's
name.
almost offensive, but
Yeah.
It's borderline. People didn't like it.
Yeah.
In the industry,
Makes sense. Saniderm. I like it.
And so with that, decided to go with the name Saniderm.
Okay.
Luckily, the person who owned Saniderm.com didn't renew it.
Right.
And I got the domain.
So the two things that stick out the most so far from this part of the story for me personally is, one, it all started with picking up a book. One of the best books of all time if you're wanting to really build a business or do something, which is Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
From that book, an idea stemmed. Not only did the idea stem, you executed on it. You guys started having a mastermind. So a book, execute on the idea from the book, and then another idea was made, and a business was conceived, and away we go. But that's the one lesson. The other lesson is you knew your stuff and capitalized on the opportunity, because both things, meaning the patents were expiring. So you hopped on that and just took advantage of an opportunity that was opening. And then Saniderm.com was expiring and you took advantage of so a little bit of patience and just timing.
Timing was very key in this whole process.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. So what else? Keep going. Keep giving us some more nuggets here.
Okay. So, getting back to the story, Salt Lake County, all exhausted, customers buying, every month I'm doing my deliveries in Walmart bags out of my minivan. Right.
You're just like a drug dealer of Saniderm.
Okay. And so now we're taking the next step, getting the domain, logo, packaging, website.
Okay.
Okay. And then, next step now is expanding.
Okay.
Right.
So we can sell it. Now we got to scale it.
Now we got to scale it. See if I can sell outside of Utah.
Okay.
So website's built. Now I start scraping Google for tattoo shops in, I don't even remember what city I started. I almost think I started in Albuquerque.
New Mexico.
New Mexico was an A.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I think I made a list of the cities that I wanted to target and just went alphabetical.
Yeah.
And started cold calling.
I like it.
I'll tell you what was really, really fun about that.
Okay.
I'm working my 9 to 5 still, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get home at 5 o'clock, hang out with the family, have dinner, start making cold calls.
Yeah.
Actually, there's two things that are really fun about this.
Okay.
First thing is tattoo shops are open till midnight.
All the time. Yeah.
Or later.
Yeah.
I could be doing cold calls at 10 o'clock and they didn't blink.
That's okay.
So
that's
that was unique to this industry. Obviously, not everyone can do that, but that was something I learned, and it made it possible for me to actually have a 9 to 5 and still be able to work later into the evenings.
Right.
The other thing that was really cool about this is when you call a tattoo shop, they would actually talk to you.
Because they're just nice.
They're just cool.
Yeah.
And several of them, when I called, told me I was the first solicitor to ever call them.
So you have a blue ocean.
Completely blue ocean.
Nobody's ever bugged them because they're kind of afraid of them.
Yeah. So
or what can you sell them?
Yeah. So the tattoo industry was completely overlooked. Nobody was trying to sell them anything. No big company, no venture firms were spending any money in the tattoo industry.
Okay. Has that changed or is that still pretty?
It has changed a little bit.
Okay.
But to that point, so this was back now 2010, 2011,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
one of my favorite trivia questions for people
Okay.
is this. When did tattooing become legal in every state? First of all, did you know tattooing was illegal at one point?
Well, no, I knew none of these things. I don't know either of those answers. I did not know it was illegal, and I didn't know that. I don't know when it became legal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everyone should think about it. When do you think tattooing became legal in the entire United
Dakota,
States?
you know.
1956.
Is it true?
No.
It's not true, Dakota.
No, not true. It actually became illegal around that time. So tattooing had not been regulated.
Mhm.
In the 50s or 60s, there was a hepatitis outbreak,
Oh, that'll do it.
and they
Yeah.
blamed the tattoo industry.
Okay.
And so tattooing became illegal.
Yeah, those needles. It's a thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So whether tattooing caused the hepatitis outbreak or not is a big controversy. A lot of people will say that the higher ups just wanted to shut down the industry because they didn't like the tattoo industry
Yeah.
and what it stood for back in those days. So
Yeah.
they used that as an excuse to shut down the tattoo industry.
Okay.
Over time, states started legalizing tattoos,
Yeah.
but some of the most interesting statistics or numbers around that: New York City, New York State,
Mm-hmm.
1997
Really?
was when tattooing became legal in New York.
1997.
And the last state
Just
was
barely.
was
Not even 30 years.
Yeah, the last state
Yeah.
was Ohio in 2006.
I've seen more tattoos in Ohio than I have anywhere else.
So isn't that
Yeah.
crazy that
Yeah.
it was not legal in every state in this country until 2006? And I
Okay.
was starting now. I started in 2009.
So very blue ocean.
So very blue ocean.
right.
And I didn't even know that at the time. It just happened to be great timing that now the tattoo industry was legal everywhere.
Yeah.
They were trying to become more mainstream.
Okay.
They were trying to become more professional. They
Mhm.
were actually trying to become cleaner as an industry.
Hence Saniderm makes sense.
Hence Saniderm,
All the stars aligned on this thing.
you know.
All of them.
And, all the companies who were selling in the tattoo space back in these days, most of them were run by tattoo artists who were just doing them as side hustles,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
they weren't entrepreneurs. Well, they were entrepreneurs, but they weren't business people.
Right.
They weren't business minded. These were artists.
Yeah.
They were creative. They had great products, but they had to tattoo all day long, and their businesses were not their focus necessarily.
Right.
So there was, 100 or more than 100, tattoo product companies run out of people's kitchens or out of their tattoo shops or whatever.
Right.
And so
Makes sense.
the
man.
timing for me to come in with a, clean medical type company was spot on. I couldn't have
been better.
Could not have been better.
That's incredible, man. I have like 4 ideas that are just rolling through my head as a result of everything you've been saying. I like that a lot. Okay.
So the point I was making was I'm calling these tattoo shops. No one else had ever called them before.
right.
And they were very receptive.
Yeah.
I did the same pitch on the phone as I did in person. Basically, I said, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to send you some free product.
Yeah.
If I send it to you, you will try it, right?"
Right.
And they're like, "Oh yeah, for sure, I'll try it out."
Yeah.
And then I would call them back, a week later. Honestly, doing it over the phone, I did not
Yeah.
get as great results. I sometimes had to call for 3 or 4 weeks in a row before they would use it.
Right.
But eventually they did. They would like it and they would buy it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Powerful.
Yeah. And I still remember the very first sale I ever got was actually there in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah.
And that was just a really exciting day. And it wasn't, I had called this individual and he actually came to the website and bought. And I was like, yes,
That's awesome.
my first, arm's length transaction on my website.
Yeah. And what year was that?
So that was now 2011.
So 2009 started,
Mhm.
bootstraps,
Just-
Walmart bags, minivans, just Utah.
Yep.
2011, we expand into Albuquerque, New Mexico, because it's an A. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then now fast forward, we're 2000. How long would you sell it? Because you've sold it, or do you still own equity in it, or where?
No, so I did. I exited the business just in this past December.
Past December, so just barely.
Yeah.
Okay, so from 2011 to our first at arm's length transaction, you're now a customer, to December of last year. What happened? Fill us in. That's a lot of time.
That is a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so the growth was still kind of slow at first.
Okay.
Remember, I'm introducing an entirely new way of healing tattoos. They've been healing tattoos with either nothing or saran wrap for 100 years.
Makes sense.
Right?
Makes sense.
And I had to convince them to spend $40 on an 8-yard roll instead of their $3 on their 100-yard roll of saran wrap.
Right.
So there's still some struggles there. It wasn't always easy, and I was still learning the industry.
Right.
Right. And so my pitch was, hey, your tattoos are going to heal so much better, so much better.
Yeah.
You know, the problem is that the tattoo artist didn't necessarily care. That didn't speak to them because it wasn't their tattoo.
The messaging was off.
It wasn't their tattoo.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, they want their client to have a good experience.
Right.
But it didn't affect them enough to change their behavior around what they were buying.
Okay.
So I was getting sales. It was slow.
Yeah.
And then after a while, I'm like, I need to try something different because, yeah, I'm getting sales, but I'm not quitting my day job yet.
Right. Right.
Right. So I thought, okay, where is the pain point for the artist? Because that's who I'm selling to at this point, is the artist.
Right.
How am I going to get them to want to buy the product? How is it going to benefit them without mentioning all the benefits to their clients?
Right. Right.
So
sales 101, what's in it for them?
Yeah. What's in it for them?
That makes sense. Okay.
So I realized and started pitching the idea that if you use these bandages, one, it's going to make you look like a rock star because your clients are going to have a better experience.
Mm-hmm.
Two, one of the big pain points that tattoo artists have is when they do a tattoo, if it doesn't heal well, that client will come back and say, hey, the ink fell out in this spot or it got faded in this area. Will you touch it up? And they'll do those touch-ups for free, usually.
Right.
So it's costing them time to have their clients come back and redo these things.
Right.
And so I started pitching, hey, if you use these bandages, your clients aren't going to have to come back.
Yeah.
Because it's going to heal their tattoo better.
For the same tattoo. They'll come back because they had a good experience.
They'll come back because they had a good experience. But you're not going to have to waste your time or spend your time doing these free touch-ups.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So
you had to find their pain point.
So that was the pain point that I found for tattoo artists.
Okay.
And then I also decided to put more emphasis on ego.
Ego is easy to sell to.
So, tattoo artists, they do not ego in a bad way.
No.
Right?
Competition.
They want to be the best. They want to be seen. They want to be known. Mm-hmm. They want to be recognized.
Right.
They're artists. Mm-hmm. And so that's what else I said, do you want to be a tattoo artist that sends them home with some ugly saran wrap and masking tape? Or do you want to send them home with a medical grade product? Which one is going to make you look better?
Mm.
So not focusing on the healing of their client, but focusing on how is it going to look for you?
Right.
Do you want to be a high-end luxury medical grade tattoo facility, tattoo shop? Or do you want to be a scratcher? Because that's what they're called.
A scratcher. Okay. I like it.
So taking on that angle, focusing mostly on the tattoo artist, the B2B sale.
You're elevating their status.
Yes.
Okay. Makes sense to me.
Okay. So at that point, we kind of pivoted all of the marketing, brochures to focus on ego and saving time on touch-ups.
I like it. So was there a noticeable trajectory in sales when you did that?
So yes, so at that point, sales started to pick up, and things started going much better. I still didn't quit my day job. I didn't need to. Yeah. Because I could still work in the evenings and on weekends.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But sales did keep going, and it wasn't even until 2014
Yeah.
January 1st, actually it was January 2nd, 2014, where I'm like, okay, I'm all in on this now.
Dang, man.
So it was years.
5 years to get all in.
All in.
Okay.
So it was slow, but
Yeah.
I was persistent, consistent, and kept going with it. And finally it got to the point where I'm like, okay, I can do this full time.
Okay. I like it. So full time. So 5 years to get to full time. Ran it for almost 10 years full time.
Mm-hmm.
In that 10 years, just for the sakes of kicks and giggles, how many customers did you guys bring on? How many tattoo artists did you go nationwide? Obviously nation. Did you go global? Like where did we go?
So we went. So this is funny.
Okay.
This is part of the story. And I don't know if this was genius or ignorance, but
Maybe
in
both.
the beginning,
Yeah.
while I was when I just barely got my new product in with packaging and I had a website and stuff, one of the first things I did was scrape the internet for all of because I was kind of tired of just going shop to shop. I'm like, what if I could sell 1,000 boxes at a time?
Yeah.
Right.
Better.
Right.
Yeah.
So I scraped the internet for tattoo supply companies.
Oh.
And I didn't have any inhibitions or whatever. I'm like, I'm going to send this email to the entire freaking world.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So I wrote a short email. I don't remember how many
Yeah.
tattoo supply companies I scraped. Let's just say it was 100.
Yeah.
Okay. Blasted the email out
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of left it at that.
Yeah.
Well, sometime later, one of them responded. Out of the, say, 100 I send out,
Yeah.
one supplier reached out
Yeah.
from Sweden.
Okay. We did not scrub the list.
Nope. And so I ended up getting on the phone and talking to this guy in Sweden named Matthias.
In Swedish, or did he speak
He
English?
spoke English.
Okay, cool.
He spoke English is fine. We emailed back and forth, and I closed that sale.
Awesome. How many did they buy?
So I don't remember the number, but I remember it was a $3,000 order.
That's a big deal.
Their initial order.
Yeah.
Much better than selling, my 2 or 3 rolls at a time, which I was selling, $100 at a time. Here's my first big order, $3,000.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And then that was in the summer of 2011. And then that December, a second distributor called me from Sweden.
So Matteo, is that his name?
Matthias.
Matthias liked you. Spread the word.
So either he spread the word or one of his competitors saw what he was doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And reached out and placed an order.
I like it. Okay.
Yep.
Now where are you? Where's Saniderm now globally? Do you guys have almost all of the providers probably?
Yeah. So at the time that I exited, I counted and there was over 100 countries we had sold into.
That's awesome. That's all from Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Let's have a mastermind.
Yep. And there had been around 7 million customers.
7 million customers. Like annually?
Just total.
That's a lot, man.
Yeah.
7 million customers. So you all start. Now here's the best part, or what I think is so cool. Before you even had a full-fledged product, you just were like, I'm going to sell it first.
Yep.
Went out, sold it, stems from an idea from Napoleon Hill. That's awesome. Okay. One question that I love to ask is a lot of people are listening to this and they're anywhere from like 14 on all the way up to like 50. That's like kind of the range who are listening to this. If someone wanted to start a business, what would be your main advice?
My main advice is ask questions.
Okay.
Get the learning.
Okay.
Because like I went to that Junto entrepreneur training, got some very invaluable lessons from that. As I was starting, I also found myself a mentor at the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center.
Okay.
And the gentleman I worked with there, his name was Mark Smolenski.
Okay.
They have retired executives that just go and sit in an office and donate their time.
Okay.
And I went and met with him, and luckily he knew how to import things and communicate with China.
Okay.
Right. And so I learned from him. I asked the questions, and when I got the answers, I acted on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So you just got to ask the right questions and know who to ask. And because, like I said, I didn't go to school for business.
Right.
I got my degree in Spanish. Right. And I had actually gone to college pre-dental.
Really?
Yeah.
Wowzers. I did not see that. I could see you being a dentist though. You have like a dentist feel.
Okay.
I could see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that does run in my family.
Yeah.
Several dentists in the family, including my dad.
Okay.
But yeah, I had planned on being a dentist my entire life.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a curveball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that actually did serve me very well in this business, because I had taken all the anatomy, all the physiology, all the chemistry classes. And so if a tattoo artist happened to ask, well, why does this bandage work?
Yeah.
I could dive into all the healing physiology and anatomy and teach that.
That's huge.
And know what I was talking about.
That's a common theme that I've seen with a lot of the best, because we've had a handful of entrepreneurs on here and they're educators. They're teachers far more than they're salespeople. Part of selling, in my opinion, is you got to find someone in the frame they're at. So everybody has a frame that they look at the world through. Mm-hmm. And for Saniderm, it sounds like the frame was, we do saran wrap and we do tape. That's the frame. That's what we do. You had to like shatter that frame.
Yes.
And then you had to like convert their mindset over to a new frame of, well, here's what's in it for you. Here's what's not been great. Here's the pain of this. And you actually look like you're just a scratcher. That's not great. So, and sell to their ego and create a new frame of a higher status tattoo artist who like delivers world-class experiences. Like, that's so cool, man. Like, it's a really, really good story. So asking questions and then acting on those questions. Mm-hmm. What else would you share? Because people are loving just the tactical, here's how you execute and do this.
Yeah, like, again, make sure you've got a good idea. Make sure you can sell it.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I mentor over at iHub, and I talk to people, and so many people are like, "Ooh, I'm going to go raise $100,000 and then I'm going to start my business." Go get a freaking purchase order.
Right. That'll raise money for you.
Get some sort of commitment.
Yeah.
That proves your idea. Because I think so many people waste time or lose time, however you want to say it, building a business, and then they don't ever sell anything.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Right. Validate the idea. Make sure you can sell the product, and then focus on building the business.
That makes a ton of sense. I can't tell you how many logos I've made that did nothing.
Well, and there's it's
just an idea.
Yeah. And, there's a staggering statistic that I've seen. I don't know, it's been years since I've seen this, but something like 80% of websites that are built to sell products never sell a single product.
Wild. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because they didn't test to see if they could sell it before they built the website.
Cool. Speak to this just a little bit. How much value do you think there is in giving away the product or service first?
So I think it depends on the industry and the product.
Okay.
For me, I was introducing a completely new product to an industry that it had never seen this.
Yeah.
Right. And so I had to get in with some sort of way that they could try it and trust it. Mm-hmm. And the product I knew was good. I knew it would work.
Right.
And as soon as they saw it, then they would buy. Okay. So I think that's very specific to the industry.
Yeah. Which you only find out by asking questions. Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
But I mean, it doesn't hurt to try. I mean, if you've got a software program that you want to sell, maybe say, here, try it for, and that's a lot of people do. Here, try it for a week, or a 30-day money back guarantee or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So I have a question. Did you end up getting the patent on these bandages? Did you go after it?
It had already been patented, so you cannot get a patent on something that's already been patented.
Okay.
So the only problem with the patent being expired is once I started having success around 2015, 2016, the competition started coming hard.
Really?
Yeah.
Wild. couple weeks ago, I was listening to the CEO of Little Giant do a presentation about someone had timed it perfectly, that their patent on the Little Giant ladder was going to expire in about 2 years. And this company had realized that it's going to take them 2 years to fight us. So we're going to get this to the market now, and we'll start selling it before the patent's even expired. So by the time they do a lawsuit and by the time they do all their stuff, we've already made our millions, and we'll sell the exact same ladder at half the price. But the cool thing is, and it sounds exactly like what you did with Saniderm, is Little Giant, they essentially just completely changed the messaging. And the message spoke to the human far better about status, safety, like an identity almost. And it made that other ladder completely irrelevant again. Like it didn't even matter. It was like, oh, that's just the knockoff. It's not the Little Giant.
It's not the thing. And we had that benefit too in the tattoo industry, having been the originals.
Yeah.
Selling those bandages in the tattoo space. When the competition started coming up, even though they were far less expensive than us in many cases,
yeah,
you know, we were the verb. You got to Saniderm your tattoo, right?
I like it, like the Xerox copy machine.
Yeah, exactly.
First of the market.
And so
positioning.
Even though we weren't the cheapest, in fact, have always been the most expensive.
Yeah,
we still were able to dominate.
I love that.
Wherever we were selling.
I love it. So over the course of Saniderm in the, how many years is that? 16 years, basically?
Yeah, about 15 years.
15 years. How many salespeople did you guys have?
So we never had a huge sales force.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Because I'll tell you, it is kind of hard because the tattoo shops, there's only so many, right? So we focused a lot on, social marketing and, that and trade shows.
Yeah. Talk about trade shows.
Was a big thing for us.
I can only imagine very straight laced, very clean cut, no tattoo, and you're at a tattoo trade show. How did those go?
So for me at first, it was really hard for me. Like I honestly felt very out of place.
Kind of shattered your frame probably a little bit.
And it's a funny story. So the very first tattoo show I went to was up at the Salt Palace here in Salt Lake.
Okay.
I was just barely getting started. I had just barely, I think, built my website at the time. And I went into this tattoo show, and I had a couple of shops who were willing to let me be there and have my products in their booth.
Yeah.
They were customers of mine. And so I don't know if you know this, but a tattoo convention is not like a regular convention.
No, I don't know anything about it. Never been to one.
A tattoo convention is not people there selling a ton of tattoo products like you would think. What it is 200 tattoo artists actually in their chairs tattooing people.
In live, like it's like a live stream, but in real life.
And then people are walking around watching them tattoo. They've got, books and pictures of their art out on the table and hanging on the wall.
Okay.
And if you like what you see, you book an appointment with them.
Oh,
okay.
So as a consumer, you want to go to these.
So it's for the end users, we would call them, the tattoo clients.
Right.
And so they're walking around getting, watching people tattoo, the sound, back then tattoo machines still made noise. They don't make noise anymore.
Oh, they don't? They're quiet now?
They're very quiet now.
Yeah.
Back then they were all wired and made their
like the humming noise,
their trademark humming noise.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking around hearing that buzzing, and I got sick.
Okay.
And I attributed it to just, some people go into a hospital and they get sick. It's like the smell of blood.
Oh,
or something.
Yeah.
Like
so it just smells like metal and needles.
Yeah. And I got physically ill, and I could not even be there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I eventually got over it. I kept going to tattoo conventions anyway, and it stopped bothering me. But that first one was funny. I had to just leave my product there, and
you're like, I'll be back.
I got to go. I'm sick.
Yeah.
So anyways, we did start going to trade shows regularly, actually. So I didn't have a team until 2015. It was just myself.
Wild, man.
Okay. I hired my first sales guy in 2015.
Okay.
And I hired just a teenage kid in the neighborhood to come and box up the orders out of my basement. I was still in my basement.
Okay.
I had, I don't know, probably a 1,500 square foot basement.
Yeah.
Literally wall to wall, floor to ceiling of inventory.
I love it.
I had actually cut a hole in my garage into my basement. So we could just, this was funny too, we had semi trucks pulling up to my house in Lehigh.
So you're just
pissing my neighbors off because a semi truck would back up and block the road for a couple hours while and I unloaded it myself. Or I'd get some kids in the neighborhood to come help me.
Yeah. Just in the trenches, man.
Yeah. Okay. And we would slide these boxes down this ramp into my garage, then organize them. I had a ping pong table down there. I never got to use it because it was always the shipping station.
Jeez Louise, man. The coolest thing is I watch your face light up. It's those moments in the trenches where it's exciting.
Yeah. Looking back, like I said, it's a really fun story for me.
Yeah.
Looking back on how it all transpired and what was accomplished. Yeah. It's really fun, and I remember seeing the first time I filled up 2 semi trucks with product.
From your house?
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay. Yeah.
It was just really exciting to see all these milestones happen.
So when you moved, were your neighbors like, good riddance?
Probably.
Yes. That's wild, probably. Man.
So anyway, so we were talking about the trade shows. So went to my first trade show in 2015. It was in Richmond, Virginia. And
So a trade show is different than a convention?
So they're the same thing.
They're the same. Okay, cool.
So I'm using the term interchangeably.
Okay.
And again, it's a bunch of tattoo artists tattooing. And the strategy we took there was we're going to go talk to every single tattoo artist as the show is starting or while they're setting up. Mm-hmm. Tell them, hey, Saniderm's over here at this booth. We want to help you out today. When you get done tattooing, bring your client to us. We'll clean them up. We'll wrap them up. You don't have to worry about it.
Is there a lot of blood?
Some tattoos bleed a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
It does depend on the tattoo artist. Depends on the tattoo.
Do you have to wrap somebody's butt?
Yes. I've got, yes.
Yeah.
I'll have to show you the pictures when we're done here because it's funny.
Yeah, it is funny.
But anyway, so tattoo artists were like, sweet.
Yeah.
So they would bring their clients over. Then we could talk to the tattoo artists about what we were doing, sell them, and also sell the client. We'd give them a bandage.
Yeah.
Say, okay, this first bandage is good for the next 24 hours, but you need to buy another one after that.
Smart.
Right.
Smart.
And so that's what we would do. And eventually we added more products. I mean, bandages were always our bread and butter.
Yeah.
Right. But we added lotions, balms, soaps,
smart,
other products.
Yeah.
That, I developed, using the chemistry knowledge I had from college and, physiology and whatnot. And we had developed some really cool products.
So how many products did you guys have by the time you left? When you exited, how many do you guys have?
So we had, several different SKUs of the bandages themselves.
Yeah.
We started off with the 8-yard rolls, which were sold to tattoo artists.
Okay.
But then we also expanded to a personal line with smaller products we could sell straight to the end users.
Did you notice, was there more end users as your name got out there that were like, hey, I'll have Amazon drop them off to me before I get
exactly.
home.
So when I exited, about 80% of our sales were actually to the end users. That became
smart,
much, much bigger business for us.
Yeah. Okay.
Because again, like I said earlier, the bandages didn't necessarily benefit the artists a ton. Yeah. Right. They would look more professional and they would have fewer touch-ups.
Yeah.
But the person who cares most about their tattoo
is the one wearing
it.
That makes sense, dude.
And so we did pivot a lot of our branding
How did you decide to do that?
To the end users. So it was actually, I got the idea from a tattoo artist. He was actually my very first sponsored artist.
Okay.
He said, it'd be really nice if I could just sell a prepackaged product to my client when they were done.
Makes sense, because then he can mark it up a little bit.
Yep.
Okay.
And so what I did is I didn't have any personal products at that time.
Yeah.
So pulling up the bootstraps,
Yeah.
I took my 10-inch rolls, which is my biggest roll that I sold at that time.
Yeah.
It was 8 yards. I measured out 2 yards on my ping pong table.
Okay.
And rolled it out 2 yards, cut it.
Yeah.
Rolled it back up.
Okay.
Went to, is Expedex a store? I think it was called Expedex. I don't remember. Anyways, it was a paper packaging store in Salt Lake. Went and bought a bunch of boxes that these would fit in, printed a bunch of stickers, put the stickers on the box, and now I had personal products.
There you go.
That I just kind of Jimmy rigged out of my artist, B2B products.
Okay. Interesting.
So
man.
I did that. I don't know how long I did that for, but probably 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Before I was like, this is dumb. This is taking way too much time. Yeah. Let's just have China make them this way.
Yeah.
And then that product, which ended up being called our personal roll, became far and away our biggest seller.
Really? So for the people who are listening that have tattoos, they just get them on Amazon. They go straight to Saniderm.com. Where do they go?
So yeah, unfortunately, Amazon is a necessary evil.
Yeah.
If you're a business owner selling a product,
unless you're Bezos,
yeah. If you're selling products, you've got to deal with Amazon.
Yeah.
Our website couldn't compete with Amazon.
No, not at all.
So
yeah.
We ended up selling most of our products on Amazon. That was our biggest channel.
Cool. Channels are great.
Yep.
As long as there's some money in it.
Yep.
So
luckily we had, great margins.
Yeah.
And we're able to sell the products on Amazon and still make money.
Awesome. Dude, that's cool. So is there any other little twists in there? Because in my mind, Saniderm was just to the artist, but now 80% of it is actually direct to the consumer. Mm-hmm. What other and clearly you didn't think that was the direction it was going to go either. Mm-hmm. How many pivots was there that it was like, oh, that actually opens up a whole new, were there more of those pivots?
Yeah. So going from B2B to adding the B2C, that was huge. Obviously adding the additional products, the lotions, the balms, the soaps, those were pivots. We had some other failed products in there along the way that didn't catch on. Mm-hmm. But the balm and the lotion and soap were really good sellers for us.
Cool.
One of the pivots, we talked about this before, was the Tattoo Awards platform.
Which was awesome.
Which was a super cool platform, which wasn't intended to be its own business.
Yeah.
It was intended to be a marketing arm for Saniderm.
Okay.
And after a few months, we're like, holy crap, this is going to be huge.
Yeah.
And so we separated it out, made it its own business, and ended up selling it after running that for about 3 years.
Yeah. So you sold, how many exits have you had?
So just those two.
Just those two?
Yeah.
Awesome. So what are you doing now?
So now I am mostly retired.
I like it.
Kind of taking a break. I do some day trading.
And you could do backflips. I saw it on the Instagram or the Facebook or somewhere.
I still do gymnastics. I still find adult gymnastics classes, and I'll go and get up on the high bar and swing around and do my tumbling passes. And
wild, man. When I saw that, I was like, dang, that's incredible.
Yeah, one of the things I'm proud of is that I can still do all the same things I did when I was 18.
Really?
All the same tumbling passes, all the same tricks on the high bar.
That's wild. And he doesn't have a tattoo.
And I never got a tattoo. Yeah. I did get a wild hair one day, and I was at a tattoo shop on Friday the 13th. This was several years ago. Mm-hmm. And they talked me into piercing my ear.
That's pretty wild.
That was wild.
But it didn't stick.
No. So I got the rook pierced right here, and it was in my ear for about 6 months.
Really?
Maybe a little bit less. And it started falling out. And I eventually was like,
That is a wild hair, man. A little rebel right there.
Yep. So that was as wild as I got.
That's crazy. Okay. So mostly retired. Is there anything on the horizon that you want to do?
So yeah, I've got some other ideas out there of things I want to do.
Cool.
But right now I'm just spending time with my daughters. My oldest is just graduating high school.
Okay.
So
I do have a question on that. What advice, and this one is a personal one, what advice would you give to someone who's in the hustle and that has kids, how do you balance it? What's your one advice to balance the work-life balance?
You know, it's very important to keep that balanced.
Right.
Right. So always remember your why.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Okay.
one of my big why was I want to be able to create memories.
Okay.
Right. I want my kids to have memories. I want to be able to take them out on the boat.
Yeah.
You know, and
when I met you, that you guys did that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, side note is I think boating is the best family activity you can possibly do.
Do you have some affiliation with like a boat thing that we can get?
No,
okay.
But I wish.
Okay.
But being on a boat on the lake in the sun, great music, limited cell phone use.
Yeah.
You know,
valid, man. It is fun, dude. Boating is a ton of fun. So you wanted to create memories. That was the big why. So remember your why. Yep. Is what helps create that balance.
Yeah, and don't lose track of that. Don't sacrifice that. Cool. You know,
I love it.
Or get organized, get as efficient as you can so you can make sure that you're still
showing up. I love that, man. That is cool. Okay, last question. Is there anything that I didn't ask that I should have that you would have stirred a thought for you to plant and to just share a nugget? Like and you could share anything.
We've covered a lot of the most important things, I think.
Yeah.
You know, but just emphasizing the pivots.
Yeah.
You know, realizing, oh, hey, this initial marketing wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we need to pivot to what speaks to the tattoo artist. Oh, now we're selling to the end users. Now we need to go back to that messaging.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay.
And how are we going to figure out, how do we get in front of people who are going to get a tattoo? You can't just do mass marketing. You know, so we're going to start targeting people who on Google are searching for tattoo ideas and for new tattoos.
Smart.
Made that really easy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
smart.
So be persistent, be consistent, make sure you've got a good idea, validate it, sell first.
Yeah.
Before you get super excited and spend a ton of energy and money.
That makes sense. Makes perfect sense. Scott, dude, I'm so glad you came down.
Yeah, and it's so fun to see. So I'm glad to see all you're doing too.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.